Hokey religions and ancient weapons. Magic for a good blaster at your side.
Welcome to Hokey Religion, the Star Wars podcast. This is Tyler.
And this is Michael.
Welcome back for episode 46.
46, almost 50.
We're getting there.
End of the road. Almost there.
The end of the line. The end of our 50 episode run that we've always talked about.
That's all we're trying to do.
Because we'll eventually just completely give up.
We'll run out of things to talk about eventually.
No. By 50, there will hopefully be something happening in Star Wars for us to talk about.
Let's see, 50 we should be in August.
Okay, so
yeah, August.
July is Comic-Con. Maybe we'll get something in Comic-Con to revitalize the religion.
I don't know. I like to think we'll just be done.
We'll just be in episode 50. It will just slowly fade out while we're in the middle of a conversation, and that'll just be the end. It'll just like the fade to black at the end of Sopranos. Hokey religion just slowly disappears, and no one knows why or what happened. That's
the perfect way for the show to end.
Just for someone to just slowly turn it down and be like, "Yeah."
I don't think it should even be a fade out. It should just cut to silence, and
there's 20
in the middle
minutes of a conversation.
20 minutes. The rest of the podcast is just silence, and then it's over forever.
just 20 minutes of silence. Sure, why not?
Yeah. So we're here to officially announce this is the end of Hokey religion.
You would be so lucky.
At the end of this episode, there will be nothing else until the next episode.
Yeah, you've got a week and a half break or whatever.
Whatever it is.
Depending on how often you listen.
I think it's 2 weeks for those people.
Sure.
The breaks are a little shorter for us.
Yeah. All right, Michael.
Anyway, what do we have to talk about today?
How has Star Wars been for you this week?
Star Wars has been great.
Yeah.
I didn't have to deal with it.
You good?
I didn't have to deal with it this week.
Well, I was on I took a vacation myself.
I can't say I didn't have to deal with it. I did have to deal with it. So.
Do you ever have to deal with Star Wars?
Yeah.
Is it not a joy? Unlike your child, where you have to deal with them sometimes.
Unlike my child, yes, it is. Star Wars is a joy.
Okay.
I think that's what you're trying to say, right?
Sure. I don't know how you feel about your children at home, but sometimes I have to deal with my child, and not so much.
How I feel about my children in public is different than at home.
Yeah, of course. Any parent understands
Any parent
that.
would say that.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
I had the joy of taking a vacation, and there was some Star Wars involved. I had tweeted some pictures of it, but got to play on a pretty sweet Millennium Falcon cockpit in a kid's play area on a Disney cruise, which was pretty awesome. It was on the screens were the smaller scenes that are in the Star Wars ride at Studios at
Nice.
Disney World.
Did you get to did any of the controls or anything change the screen?
No, but actually pulling the hyperdrive
would put you in
would launch
hyperspace.
It. Yeah.
That's
It would
cool.
make the noise and launch it. Yeah.
Wow.
But it was old. It was old. Even the very first original scene from the ride, the trench run, it was all spotty and bad looking, but it was the original scene from the ride from Studios. But it
Wow.
had some of the newer ones. There was one from Hoth and a Pod Racer one.
Do they even show that
there's
original
another.
trench run anymore?
I don't know
Star
if it's still
Tours?
in rotation or not. Probably
think
because
so.
it's not HD.
If they do, it's probably updated.
Well,
right?
because they updated the ride and everything. They updated it to HD, and that's
Yeah.
when they started doing all the randomization of scenes.
All the new stuff, yeah.
But that one is not super pretty on a big up close screen from having seen it myself just last week. It's super nostalgic, but it's definitely not HD by any means.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I have not personally seen it in rotation. I've never happened upon it when riding the ride. It's hard since it's randomized to hope to see one. It's always something different.
Well, lately, for the past year, it's been just the Jakku scene. You remember that? You would at least
For a
the
long
last
time it was,
several
yeah.
times I've been there, it was always the new Force Awakens scene.
Really?
So yeah, it would never. I think they just recently started randomizing it again.
Yeah, and it'll start unrandomized again once we have the crate scene near the end of the year.
Oh yeah, right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, so
that was my Star Wars.
How
adventure.
much of the Falcon was there in that set?
Yeah, so there was the cockpit.
Was it even a
um,
set?
Not it was like a half
Like a room?
half
basically?
set. Yeah, there's like a little room which was the cockpit, two almost identical areas with the hollow chess table with the benches around it.
2 hollow chess tables?
Yeah, but one on each side so that you could kind of
Oh.
because there's a ton of kids playing in there, so they have matching kind of sides.
Oh, this
around
is
cockpit.
the kid babysitting area you were talking about?
It's the kids club. Yeah, where you
Oh.
can send your kid and they can go play and do stuff.
And they let you just go in there and
They have open
goof around?
hours in the morning where I would take my 3-year-old and that would give me entrance to go play in the Millennium Falcon. While he was in the Toy
Well.
Story room, I was sitting in the Millennium Falcon kicking kids out of the way because it's my turn.
I'm bigger.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
You know, you down some Mai Tais upstairs and you come down to the kids' open house and you just throw the kids out of the cockpit and you sit down and you
Knock
make
some little
you
heads
make
around.
pew pew noises while you're flying the Falcon.
Could you go in the gunner seat?
No.
Ah!
You could, and there was
Someone do
no
that for
gravity.
real. Yeah, you would. You just fall straight out of
You
your
walk
seat.
into this tube and then you just like float and
Chest
then,
first.
there's a gun. No one knows how it works, so Disney had to come up with anti-gravity on a cruise ship to make it work.
Oh, and that's how they decided to use it.
Yeah, just for the stupid, nonsensical, no physics gun.
Gunner seat.
Yeah, on the Falcon.
Ugh. Do
Which
any of the
when-
buttons work on the cockpit?
Some of them just like
They may
all
not
have
do
lights.
stuff, but do they? Were they
They're
actually
all
clicky
they're all
buttons
actually
and
click
stuff?
buttons and flip switches and
Huh.
levers and stuff. Yeah,
That's cool.
it was fun.
Nice.
I had as much fun as my 3-year-old.
I'm telling you, that's all I want from this new park is a Falcon set. I mean,
From-
with this ride that's coming, you're going to be able to pilot it. So I
Sounds
assume.
hopefully the queue for the line is just walking through the Falcon somehow.
See, I guess it's all right. I
That's
want
probably as much as we're gonna get. I thought there's just gonna be an open walk around Falcon area, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of want that. I don't know. I
They
don't
would
know
have
if
to
that would
have
be possible.
something.
We'd have
for
to have a
doing that.
gimmick. Well, if you're doing stuff on the Falcon and this ride, this
Yeah.
ride is you piloting the Falcon. I can't imagine it's just one seat or one set with one cockpit. There's going to be
No,
multiple
yeah.
cockpits. It's just going to be made to look like.
Yeah.
I imagine, right?
You could probably do something
know.
like the launch bay that they have now, where they have the character like greets off to the side. Probably you could do like a Falcon area to walk through before going to a character thing.
Yeah,
I
maybe
don't know. That would be cool. I would like an actual
a set to
scale
walk around
Falcon
on.
to
Yeah,
walk around in. Yeah,
yeah. Be able to look around.
that'd be a lot
see-
of space to take up to have a scale Falcon to walk around in. But yeah, it would be awesome.
Yeah. Well, it's a whole ride, so they could have like a whole. I mean,
Just
in
a-
all the concept art,
Part of the
they've
ride
got-
is the exploration of the Falcon.
the what?
Part of the ride is just the, all right, you got 15 minutes to walk around the Falcon. When the siren goes off, get in your seat and lock the strap across your waist. And if you got a kid, then you put the other belt across them because they're too short and they'll fly out.
Pull your straps before
Yeah.
before the ride starts.
Like all Disney personnel sounds.
Pull on your yellow safety straps. We went to Disney this weekend, and my son and I went on Test Track, and we get up to the part where you're about to climb in the car.
Yeah.
And this, a car comes up and there's people in it, and the two people in the front, it was a lady and a guy who was disabled.
Okay.
And they're like looking around because they had just ridden it. So they pull up and they're looking around for someone to help them out because they can't get out, by themselves.
Okay.
And the ride attendant is off talking to, like, flirting with one of the other ride attendants. She turns around, sees that all the other passengers have got on.
They
All
just
the other
send it
cars,
again?
all the other cars got
Please,
emptied, and all
please,
these
please,
cars,
please.
and these people are looking around. And she goes, "Oh, sorry!" Runs back,
Oh.
pushes the button, and they go shooting off
Yes.
again.
Oh, it's so sad, but it's so gratifying
And the
because I wanted
guy-
that to happen.
The guy had a look of fear on his face, like,
Had
I
they
don't
already unstrapped and everything?
Yeah. Like, I don't want to do this again. It was so bad. Nobody said anything. Nobody got their attention. She's just shooting people off into the ride that don't want to be there.
I feel so bad, but that's It's horrible,
That was good.
but it's really funny. Oh.
I mean, maybe they got off at because
They're still there. They're still there to this day, riding the test track over and over.
it's the legend of the the test track ghosts.
They come back tomorrow morning. The people are just sitting there, just like
It's like a torture
they're
chamber.
still not saying anything. They're still just looking around.
It's like a torture chamber.
Those poor people.
Well, so they're still there. I'm sure I'll go back and see them at some point.
You visit the test track ghosts.
I seen you. I seen you then. I seen it.
I seen it. Well,
Anyway,
there's a little bit
What
of
was that?
Star Wars things happening.
there was some news.
According to some information that Making Star Wars had received regarding Luke Skywalker on Acto in The Last Jedi.
Luke Skywalker.
That guy who doesn't
He's
do
the
anything
Star
in the
Wars
movie.
man.
Yeah.
The
guy that
wait, hold on
keeps-
before I gotta say
Wait a
something.
second.
So someone being a man, that reminds me.
Speaking of being a man,
I met a real man. We were my wife and I and our two kids were driving somewhere, I don't remember, over the weekend, and we saw an ad for Subway. We passed an ad for Subway, and my son was being just a huge brat in the car. I don't remember what was going on. And so we said, "You know what? We're going to send you off to get a job somewhere." And he's like, "No, I don't want to get a job." And so we passed the sign for Subway, and we said, "Yeah, we're going to send you to Subway, make you make sandwiches. You want to make sandwiches for a living?" And he said, "No, I don't want to make sandwiches. I'm not a sandwich man." I'm not a sandwich man.
damn it, son, we're sandwich men. My father was a sandwich man. I'm a sandwich man, and you'll be a sandwich man.
You'll be a sandwich man and you'll like it. You carry on the tradition or so help me. But Father, I want to do musicals.
One more lap of mayonnaise spreading.
A lap.
Yeah.
Is that a lap while you're spreading, or are you spreading while you're running a lap? How does that work?
It's a track
It's a
with
bread.
buns. It's a track with
It's all
buns
the way
on the
around.
inside.
And you're
yeah,
spreading mayonnaise like you're
Yeah.
doing curling.
you're just holding out a knife, running at a perfect level thing around, spreading the mayonnaise.
You've got a person in front of you dumping the mayonnaise like the guy with the brush in curling.
No, it's like a Greyhound races where there's like that fake rabbit that runs around. There's just like a jar of mayonnaise just pouring around the track onto the sandwich.
You're sprinting as fast as you can all the way around.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm glad we're on the same page.
You better
for-
beat my mayonnaise time, son. Damn it, if I'm going to be proud of you. Anyway,
Yeah,
what are we talking about?
I think we were
Luke
talking about
Skywalker, the
Last
man.
Jedi. Yes,
The Star Wars man.
the island man, Luke Skywalker, in The Last Jedi, has special island equipment, or he just has equipment. He has stuff with him on the island. He's not just there with a robe, as we may have assumed.
Just a robe,
So
huh?
he has like a walking stick.
Mm.
Okay. Apparently, it clicks to his
Walking
belt
stick.
like a lightsaber, which is kind of odd for a stick to click onto things.
This is news?
Yeah. There's some
I'm
more
reading
there's
ahead
some more
here.
interesting stuff. He has a cattle prod type weapon for zapping creatures.
Yeah.
Someone was referring to it as a lightning rod. Not a weapon, just more for getting critters out. Get out of my cave hole, critters. But mainly
Them critters are all up in my cave hole.
the interesting piece of equipment that he has is a compass, which for space is not a thing that works very well. So it's a compass. It's like a box with like a blue marble orb on top. And the rumor is, or what has been told, is that he can move his hand over the blue orb and the box opens to reveal a compass inside that has metallic dials with Arabesh writing inside denoting some type of space version of north, south, east, and west. And then a needle points away
Yeah.
to something.
Huh. So
So
it's
he has like a force compass, is what it sounds like.
So it's like the compass in Pirates.
That points to the Black Pearl or
That
to the
points
treasure.
to the thing that Jack Sparrow wants
Oh,
the
whatever
most.
you want the most. Yeah.
Remember?
It kind of sounds like space Black Pearl compass. Yeah.
It's pointing to whatever Luke wants the most.
So it sounds like from what was told to making Star Wars, it's a fairly well crafted prop. It's not like something you just see out of the in the distance. Something you'll see up close. Most likely in this film, not something that maybe happens near the end of the film.
Okay.
So, in his search for things and relics and these books, is this, I guess, something he found along the way?
Mm-hmm.
And what does it point to?
Yeah. Interesting.
I've been thinking about it for the last couple of days since I've seen this.
Well, if it's well,
Does it help you find temples? Is there some other relic that he's still looking for?
does it have? It doesn't say here.
I mean,
I
it's
guess
very
you-
limited information. It's basically just a space version of
Yeah.
north, south, east, west.
I'm
and then
wondering-
a needle points a direction.
Does it have anything to do with that map that we saw, or what we assume was a map? Whatever in the trailer that had the old
That book.
the Jedi Order symbol
Yeah.
on it. I'm wondering if was that a map?
It looked
I
like
can't
it
remember.
looked like the cover of a book to
It
me.
was just
I thought
it wasn't the cover. It was it was actual
maybe
paper.
it was inside the book, but
I don't know if it was a book or not. That's what I couldn't tell. But anyway,
maybe it helps him find temples, or
Temples,
there's
you think?
something else.
some Jedi
I'm
artifact.
assuming if he waves his hand over it to open it, it's a Jedi artifact.
Yeah.
Kind of like a
Force- like a
like a
holocron.
holocron. You
Yeah.
have to use the Force to use it. But what else would he be looking for still at this point?
Yeah, he still has it.
I
A
mean,
compass that guides
maybe
his
it
way.
was something
too.
he was searching for and had to give up his search because of of what happened.
Yeah, what would he need to be guided in?
Or is it something that you
Guided
can
to
use,
still.
but use the Force to help you? Like, it's not going to something specific, like you said, the Pirates of the Caribbean type of thing. Is it is it like you can use it to find certain things through the Force that you're looking for,
Yeah, like temples, like you're saying.
like maybe temples or relics or people or
People.
Snoke? I don't know.
It's a snow compass.
Snoke Finder. On the inside, it's like Snoke
like
Finder
those-
5000.
It's like those little Bluetooth tags you put on your keys.
Yeah, exactly.
Snoke is tagged with a little thing.
Yeah, it's just
You ever
a-
lose your Snoke? Buy one a Snoke.
Have you ever misplaced your Snoke? Snoke Finder 5000. Stick this right in your Snoke. When you lose your Snoke, you find your Snoke. Wave your hand over the top. Use the Force. Find Snoke.
One Snoke. Here you go.
10 payments. $5.99. Send your credits now.
$5.99. Wow, that's pretty cheap.
There's just they don't mention if it's $5.99 or just they just say it really fast and hope you just
$5.99.
$5.99 payments. Act now.
Act now. If ever lose your Snoke.
With the
Well.
first purchase of a Snoke Finder, we'll throw in 2 more Snoke Finders for all your other Snokes.
You ever have more than one Snoke and they all go missing at the same time?
Yeah.
Well,
Is it a Snoke Finder?
is it a Snoke Finder?
That's
a good question.
That's my I'm putting my foot down. It's a Snoke Finder, guys. That's it. Case
All right.
closed. We've done it.
So Luke has a Snoke Finder.
Sure.
Apparently, at the end of the movie, he goes after Snoke.
Yes, that's the other rumor is that near the end of the film, Luke and Rey actually split up. Luke going for Snoke and Rey going for Kylo.
Interesting.
Very interesting. Because I'm guessing. So does that mean that Snoke is still not physically with Kylo?
I thought rumors of that Super Star Destroyer that they have said that it was like Snoke's capital ship.
Right.
His
So maybe Kylo's there for a little while and then goes on whatever mission to kill Rey and Luke.
yeah, I'm thinking about Snoke though.
Yeah.
You don't think he would be there? Or maybe are they going to
Probably.
blow this thing up too?
Is
Or
that
do
the
you
one that Finn and Rose get on?
Kelly Marie Tran's
Yeah.
character.
Finn and Rose? Is
At
that
some point.
is that the Star Destroyer? Did they get on Snoke's Star Destroyer and then blow it up?
Well, that's the only thing in the movie, right? The big ship.
It's the
Is
only
this-
thing. That's the set. The one set, Michael.
That's what it sounds like from all these
It's
rumors.
just a Just the
This is
Super Star
one
Destroyer.
place.
They just went to Pine Woods, just built a Super Star Destroyer set. This is it.
It's just
these,
like
these 4 hallways, guys.
It's like a sitcom. It all just takes place in the couple rooms
Just
in
the
one.
4 rooms that they walk between, and then the stairs that go to nothing. Yeah,
It's like a Wes Anderson movie or something.
yeah. It just takes place in the one house.
Isn't it? Isn't that what happens? Tell
I-
me.
I think there is a Star Destroyer in it.
Yes.
I don't know if Finn and Rose get on Snoke's, because that would almost feel like the same oversight as Palpatine, where it's like, how did you not realize that this stuff was happening on your ship?
That was my whole point when we first found this out. Like, they have these huge vehicles or things, these big creations that keep getting blown up.
Like, how did you not? How did you
Snoke
not see this?
How did Snoke not see the Starkiller base destruction coming?
Yes.
You know, you build one huge weapon and it's kind of a big
Has it
target.
been? I mean, so the second Star Destroyer was already being built, or second Death Star was already being built when the first one went under, or no, they just built it faster, or were building it faster.
Yeah.
So
Because it was the weapon part that took the longest.
Yes.
According to
but
the
again, how
canon.
did Palpatine not feel that something was wrong with what was happening with the Death Star, or that
The first or the second?
either,
Well, the second, he basically had everything under control
until he got thrown
until
in a hole.
Ewoks,
Yeah, until Ewoks, yeah.
which
They're,
is
them in their damn eyelids,
I mean, whatever.
blinking, freaking everyone out. Oh God!
Shields down.
Whatever you blink, sure.
Eh.
Just Ewok just drooling and just blinking rapidly. Sure. No, not the eyelids.
They blink so fast. Why do they blink so fast?
Nothing needs that much moisture. Sure. So Ewoks destroyed the second Death Star, as is canon.
Basically.
But the
But
first,
he had
the
everything
first
under
one, how did he
control.
not? You know, it's like the same thing with Snoke and
Oh,
Starkiller
well-
Base. Like, how did they not feel?
That was the
that was
first attempt
happening.
at a giant super weapon, so I can understand.
Sure. So
Something being
Snoke
ignored.
should have some foresight as to this has happened before.
That was my whole point.
Depends on how
So I don't know how this thing is gonna exist, or
forcey is Snoke actually.
well, he trained Kylo, and
Did-
Kylo's fairly powerful. I mean, you know, I would say.
I don't know. I mean, we've talked about it to death.
He did-
as we
he did
talked
train
everything
Kylo.
to death. But how is he? Is he considering himself a Sith?
No, I don't think so. I think he's
just what is because even what we've heard of Snoke in the rumors so far is that he likes his money. He's very showy, flashy.
in rumors we've heard this.
Yes,
Oh,
that he dresses flashy. He has lots of rings and like gold and like everything. Like he's very flashy and flamboyant in his money and power.
Yeah, I guess we have
Unlike
heard that.
the Emperor, who is black cloak, sits in his throne room. That's very stark, and it's more about fear and strength.
I think it's about strength with Snoke. I would say so, but it's more of a focus on the dark side.
I
kinda
almost feel
deal.
like Snoke reminds me.
And Snoke did
we don't have a lot of
seduce
Snoke.
Kylo
Yes,
away from the light side, away from the Jedi Order. So
but
I
that
mean,
term
there
can
has
be
to
interpreted in many ways.
there has to be some component of power and strength with that, right?
I guess. Every time I think about Snoke and the descriptions we've had of him, I think of more of like Advisor Tashu and like his weird cultish following of the Force and like believing in the dark side, but not really kind of having some relation to the dark side, but not
Yeah.
having any power in it.
I could see that.
Like that.
I
Every
think
time
he
I
does-
think of Snoke, like is he an actual Force user, like Sith lightsaber, like guy, like Palpatine,
Yes, I think he
or
definitely
is
is
he
a Force
just
user.
some guy with knowledge that
Did you say lightsaber guy?
yeah, lightsaber? I'm not a lightsaber man.
Lightsaber man?
Yeah. Is he a lightsaber man? Is he a saberman?
You
Or-
know a lightsaber man when you see him.
Yeah. Is he like an actual Sith with a lightsaber and using the Force actively, or
Yes.
is he just a knowledgeable in the dark
I
side?
don't know about a lightsaber,
guy?
but I think he is. I think he's knowledgeable in the Force and he's capable of using it. I think both.
What basis do you have to say that?
He trained Kylo. I mean, how can you train somebody
You
if
can
you
train
can't,
someone with knowledge,
but you have to be able to demonstrate
not
how
necessarily.
to do it. I think so.
Not with the Force.
I
Just
don't know.
Blast some training videos into his head.
Maybe you could argue.
You just matrix some training right into his head.
I don't think that's how it works.
He knows kung fu.
He knows kung fu now.
Yeah, that's done. Training complete. It's just like 4 hours.
I know kung fu.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how he said it. So I mean, we
was
have
I
no
saying?
basis for either of our
I think so.
assumptions.
I think it's obvious that he doesn't. He say something about.
There's no.
He
there's
says
no-
something in the movie about foreseeing something. I have foreseen this.
Sure.
What was it?
So you're tied to the Force doesn't mean you actually like actively.
That's a Force user that says that.
Sure. Yes, but is he like a? Is he a battling? Is he like Palpatine, where he has the power, where he's blasting with lightning from his fingers and using a lightsaber and being all evil? Is he actually actively using the Force and fighting, or is he more of just I have the Force, but I use it to teach or train or foresee or advise, but not actually so much.
You can't foresee
active.
things except through the Force.
Yes, but I'm saying is he like active with the Force in that he uses it in a way other than just being advisory, like Palpatine, where he'll smack a bitch if he needs to. Like he's blasting lightning out of his hands because he can,
Yeah.
and has a lightsaber and all of that. Is Snoke going to be that? Or is Snoke going to be this type of advisory,
I could see.
overseeing teaching?
I see your point. I could see him being more of that, but still, almost like the Church of the Force people, or like the cultish acolyte
cult
people that
kids,
you're
yeah,
talking
the
about.
acolyte-
Yeah,
acolytes in Aftermath.
right. I think not. I mean, unlike Advisor Tashu, I think he could actually use. I think
Yes.
Snoke can actually use the Force and does, but yeah, I think it's more cultish, like fringe kind of deal.
We're not
you
going
know,
to see him. Do you
like
think
these Church
do
of the
you
Force
think
people
Snoke has a
and-
lightsaber and will fight with a lightsaber?
I don't know. That would be interesting to see Luke fight somebody who doesn't fight with a lightsaber.
Like he's that strong that he doesn't have to use a lightsaber?
Yeah,
That would be
that would be really interesting to see.
I like that idea.
Because I don't think. I mean, Luke isn't in.
And so far, we have even Making Star Wars was talking about this, but there's still been no description, no leaks, no nothing that Luke even has a lightsaber yet. There's not been no pictures leaked, no rumors shared to any outlets that Luke. No one has seen his lightsaber yet. No one has reportedly seen his lightsaber yet.
I think.
Does he even have his lightsaber?
I think this is
From
going to be
Jedi.
another big reveal type thing.
Him getting his lightsaber back?
No,
From wherever he has it, or he has it.
It's a big moment in the film. Like you
Of him
remember how he
like that big moment of him picking it back up because it's time to take action, even though he had given up on everything prior.
maybe it could be that, but I'm saying maybe it's more like Luke being in Force Awakens for this movie, where you remember how we never had any confirmation of, like, we know Luke was in the movie, but we had no confirmation of
Yeah.
what he does or whether he speaks or anything like that
Okay, yeah.
from Force Awakens. I'm saying that's what his lightsaber is in this movie.
So
Kind of like a big.
And I was thinking about that too, with the whole Rey goes after Kylo and Luke goes after Snoke. Is that like where it breaks at the end? With like, all right, we've got our mission.
I
and,
could
like,
see
Luke
that,
picks
yeah,
up his
happening.
lightsaber,
Yeah.
and it's time to go.
Basically how Empire ends, where they split up, to go find
that
Han.
makes sense.
Han.
Han,
Calling him Han.
whatever, whoever pronounces it. variously.
chance to save Han on his platform.
Yeah, so I do find it interesting that Luke's lightsaber hasn't been mentioned anywhere, hasn't been seen, hasn't been leaked, hasn't been reported.
I think that's
that
purposeful.
the hilt is nowhere to be found. Because he has his lightsaber from Jedi somewhere, we assume. We assume he hasn't had to make another one since then, right? He's got his green lightsaber somewhere, I assume.
Yeah.
And will we even see him use it in Jedi? Will be
I
interesting
don't
to
know
see.
about using it, but I could see him
Will it be like you said, where we won't see it until the very
like
end?
he goes into his cave and opens up a lockbox and there's his saber, and he takes that with him and then leaves. You know,
Like that's the
something like that.
like you said, like the end of Force Awakens, where it's at the end and he
The
picks
end
up
of-
his lightsaber and it's time to go.
The end of
into-
Empire, but also with Force Awakens. I said Empire.
Okay, yeah.
The end of Empire.
So it's like it's okay, let's split up. You take Kylo, I'll take Snoke.
Yeah. Yeah, I could definitely
I've
see
got
it
my
ending like
lightsaber.
that.
I'm back in it. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
It will be interesting to see how long his hesitance lasts in Jedi.
I'm gonna make a bet. Like, I mean, Yoda has a lightsaber or had one,
Yes.
and then he goes and teaches Luke without any of that. So Luke
Yeah.
doesn't need any of that to teach Rey, I would assume. But
yes.
I mean, she's doing something with a lightsaber, some kind of combat training.
Yeah, she's swinging around on the rock while Luke
Forms and
stands up
stuff.
there. And
Yeah.
so back to Snoke. If he taught Kylo, he doesn't necessarily have to have a lightsaber or teach him how to fight or anything.
No, I don't. I would say he doesn't have a lightsaber, but that doesn't mean he doesn't use the Force.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the thing I can't not see.
He's
I
strong
think
in the Force, but may not be a fighter.
Maybe. Yeah,
Not as
more
violent
of
as Palpatine or
a maybe.
any other Darth we've come across so far.
Palpatine's not really a fighter either,
But he can.
but he can fight if he's
Yeah.
backed into it. Yeah, like
and I mean,
like
he
we
started
saw.
off fighting in Revenge of the Sith.
He started off.
I mean, in Revenge of the Sith, he has a lightsaber and he uses his lightning and turns to Jello.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Where
He can
turns-
fight if
turns
he's
to
backed
pudding
into a
when he
corner.
first uses the Force lightning. Yeah, the whole
Turns to pudding.
It does. I mean, what else? How else are you going to describe that? He turns to wrinkled nutsack at first lightning use in Revenge of the Sith.
Yes,
Yeah, I mean, you can't argue that he doesn't turn to
he does.
wrinkle putty,
His face just kind of folds into itself.
flaps of silly putty. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
we agree. Anyway,
Is that what happened to Snoke? Is that why he's all raggedy?
he looks like he's got a small black hole in his cheek, and it's just slowly.
It looks like
sucking-
someone hit him in the head with an axe, and then took it out and left, and now he's just
Now
lived
he's
with it.
fine.
Yeah, he's just no Bacta. He's just lived with the axe wound in his head, just this giant hole in his face. Yeah, that's what he looks like.
Basically.
So I have finished Thrawn,
Yes.
and Michael has not.
I didn't, but only because I forgot my Kindle on my vacation, so I couldn't do it. But I am reading it,
Sad.
so this
I
is
read
not.
Thrawn on my vacation. You have a phone, isn't your Kindle on your phone too? The app could have read it anywhere.
That's terrible. I don't read it on my phone.
It's pretty bad. I do it on business trips
so
when I forget
small.
my Kindle.
No,
It's
I
like
can't.
4 words on the screen. Yeah.
I had my iPad with me.
You son of a bitch.
Could have done it there.
So I
That's
finished
terrible with the eye strain.
it. Turn on the yellow mode, whatever. The blue mode. I don't know what it's called.
mode, activate.
Yeah. So I know last episode we said we probably wouldn't
Then I
talk about
Pee
Thrawn
on it.
because nothing really important would be to talk about. But after finishing it, I will go on
Try-
record
You want to try that
saying-
again?
Yeah, I will say, I know back when we talked when Bloodline came out, how good Bloodline was, and I still think that's one of the best new canon novels that have come out. I enjoyed Thrawn as much, if not more, than Bloodline.
Mm-hmm.
It is very good. If you haven't read it, I suggest reading it. If you don't know anything about Thrawn, that's completely fine because this starts from the very beginning of Thrawn's story with the Empire. And it's basically rebooting Thrawn. And it's real good. It's real good. There's some implications in some of the story. I'm going to wait for Michael to finish it. Hopefully by next episode we can talk a little bit. There's some implications into Thrawn's plans, ideas, his purpose that I want to talk about because I find them very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I need to watch more Rebels to see how it affects my thoughts on Thrawn. Because I haven't watched a lot of the Thrawn Rebels episodes. But to see where he's
I don't
at,
think I've watched any of them.
to see where he's at,
On purpose.
yeah, well, yeah, to see where he's at in Rebels compared to where he's at mentally in the book, because he's around for kind of a reason.
Okay.
And I don't know how that plays in Rebels. And with Rook coming out in Rebels in season 4,
Mhm.
and in the old canon, I believe didn't Rook kill Thrawn? His bodyguard, I believe he killed Thrawn.
yes.
Or sabotaged and killed Thrawn, right?
Yeah, he did.
So with Rook coming to Rebels, it's interesting to see what will happen with Thrawn, if that's still going to be where that storyline of Rook and Thrawn go, if Thrawn actually dies in Rebels, because that will be a sad place for Thrawn to die, because there's a lot of more important Star Wars things after Rebels that are going to happen, and I really want him around during that timeline. Because apparently he was around during the Clone Wars. That's when he met Anakin Skywalker.
That is interesting because Timothy Zahn has talked about wanting to do more Thrawn books.
He has pitched two. He was at he did a talk at Google, and I
Yeah.
saw a video today, and he has pitched two sequels, two sequels
To Del Rey.
to
Del
Lucasfilm
Rey.
or Del Rey.
Not Lucasfilm
Well,
yet, but Del Rey.
Yeah, he has pitched two sequels to Thrawn. So basically, he has like a Thrawn plan already.
Yeah.
Basically a second Thrawn trilogy. So he will have the original Thrawn trilogy, followed by the Thrawn duology,
Yeah.
and then a new Thrawn trilogy.
And I can't imagine he's not involved in the Rebels
I'm sure he was involved
story.
from the get go for Thrawn coming back, especially with having to write knowing he
Yeah.
was writing a novel for it.
Um,
So I assume at that time he already knew. When Thrawn came back in Rebels, he was already probably working on this novel, or knew that he needed to be working on this novel.
right. And I'm saying
They have to work all that together.
with him being involved, I doubt they would kill off Thrawn and Rebels and him not. Like, how would you fit in more books?
Well, so Rebels is obviously much closer to, I guess, A New Hope ish, right?
where does Thrawn take place? Is that it's before Tarkin, right?
There's a timeline at the beginning of the book, and I'll have to pull it up. So keep talking for a second.
I'm saying he can't have been involved in the Rebels series and not be aware of an end game for Thrawn the character, you know?
Yeah.
I imagine if he's talking about doing more books, and you know, he was in this talk at Google, I watched the same thing that you sent me. He seemed very optimistic about being able to do more stories about Thrawn. Like there wasn't finality, you know, for Thrawn. Like it wasn't going to be like, okay, we can fit in this much and then we have to let him go because he's dead. So I doubt that's going to happen with Rook. I didn't make that connection before though, what you were saying about Rook coming back. I didn't think about, that's what happens.
I think that's why everyone was
The only person that could kill him in the trilogy was the person that was closest to him and that he trusted the most.
Yeah. So Tarkin is 14 years before the Battle of Yavin, and Thrawn is 11 to 2 years before the Battle of Yavin. So I guess where Thrawn
the
ends,
book?
Yeah. Yes.
Huh.
The exact placement is unknown. It just places it on the timeline. So
After Tarkin
the
or
year,
before?
It's after Tarkin. So
After, it would have to be.
year, the actual, because for those who don't know, the Star Wars timeline has always been like with Jesus, where it's, you know, before Christ or after Christ, you know, like before Christ, BC or AD, after death. Star Wars is BBY, before the Battle of Yavin, or ABY, after the Battle of Yavin. Yeah. Everything's placed on the Battle of Yavin with the first Death Star.
Right.
So it doesn't ever list years or anything in the book. It's just in the beginning of the front of all Star Wars canon novels, it lists the timeline. Of books, and it is listed after Tarkin.
Okay.
So the assumption is that it's around 11 to 2 years,
Which is the
before
Rebels
Battle of
timeline. So he
Yavin.
I can't imagine he would die.
So
during
Rebel
this.
Rising, which is about Jin,
Yeah.
is around 13 to 0 before the Battle of Yavin. So all this is happening around the same time as all the
Rogue
stuff
One.
with Rogue One.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting. When you start reading the book, some Death Star stuff comes up.
Nice. Okay.
Him. Thrawn starts to figure out there's something going on.
Okay. He starts to figure out there's something going on with. You mean with sabotaging the Death Star?
No, not that far.
Oh, okay.
Just with the Death Star existing.
Oh, okay.
Because that's a very secret project, obviously.
Right. Well, they even say I watched Rogue One again this past week, and I think Vader says the Death Star does not exist. And Vader, it was funny, just real quick, Vader in that movie doesn't, like, Tarkin doesn't seem impressed with the Death Star. Vader is definitely not impressed.
Yeah,
with
like
the Death
no
Star.
one gives a shit, and
Right.
except for
Krennic is the only
Krennic
one who's
and
convinced that it's
Palpatine
going to change the
who
world.
wants this to exist.
But I think only because, well, maybe he's seeing past what these
Yeah.
other guys can, what Vader and Tarkin can see, and sees the potential for it. But Krennic seems to be the only person who's convinced that it's going to change the galaxy, you know?
Yeah. So Rebels is all like around 5 to 4 years before the Battle of Yavin. And Thrawn is somewhere like maybe 11 to 0, like 11 to Yavin,
Okay.
like somewhere around that time.
So anyway,
after Tarkin-
I can't see him.
Dying in
Dying.
Rebels 5 years before the Battle of Yavin.
I would be very surprised if he did.
Will he make it to the Battle of Yavin? That I don't know. But there's I mean, if it starts at 11 years, maybe this book we see where it ends maybe at around 11-year mark before
Yeah.
the Battle of Yavin. That's still 10 years before the Battle of Yavin for stuff with Thrawn to take place, including the stuff in Rebels.
yeah.
So there could be other stories within those 10 years before it hits Rebels. Well, I guess that's
Maybe.
5 years. You've got 5 years of story before he hits Rebels.
Maybe.
5 to 6 years before he hits Rebels.
Yeah. I mean,
which is
I
a
guess
short
you
period,
do-
I guess, to fit stuff in.
You do have to remember he was reintroduced in Rebels. Like Rebels was the thing that brought him back. Unfortunately,
That's the thing they chose to bring him back in. I'm sure
that
the
was
novel.
the vehicle.
I'm sure the novel was already in the plans or the works before
No, I don't.
Rebels, right?
I don't think so.
I mean,
I bet
Okay.
Dave asked,
Yeah.
you know, can we bring him back? And then they got Timothy involved, and I'm sure a book got worked out
Yeah.
because of that. You know,
I guess.
which is sickening. Yeah, but
I just don't want him to die in Rebels.
I mean, Rebels was the
because
reason-
that limits how much Thrawn we get.
was it? No. I was gonna say, yeah, that's not right. I was gonna say Rebels was the reason Darth Maul came back, but no, that was way before.
That was in Clone Wars.
Yeah, that was in Clone
Yeah.
Wars.
So I just don't want him to die in Rebels because I don't want them to limit what Thrawn stories we can have.
Yes, although there is definitely a limit on what he can affect.
Yeah, obviously,
Because he's not-
because everything after him has already happened.
Right.
Yeah.
He's not in anything.
It will be interesting if they play into any effects on stuff with the Death Star or with the Battle of Yavin or anything. If anything that we didn't know that they could shoehorn in his involvement with. 'Cause they
That's all this is
They
now.
shoehorn in things all the time. While we're waiting to get the Journey to the Last Jedi books.
Yeah.
We're having to just fit stuff into the pre-area. But it will be interesting to find out what Thrawn has been involved in if we do get any more Thrawn stories. Because his story so far, and I know you still need to finish it, and we'll talk about it later, but what he knows and what his purpose is interesting to me, and it could have an implication into maybe affecting other things, or maybe not. So, for those that haven't read Thrawn, do it. For Michael, do it. Finish Thrawn, and I hope we get more Thrawn books because
Well, this Do It For Me is different from the other ones because I'm actually almost halfway through this one, so it's you don't have to worry about it.
All right.
It's fine.
I
It's all
love
fine.
I love how much Timothy Zahn seems to enjoy writing Thrawn.
Yeah.
Like he loves that character.
Every
Or at
time I
least it
see him
comes
talk
across
about
that
it.
way.
I mean,
Like the happiest I see Zahn because he's such a stoic dude. Like the happiest he ever seems is when he's talking about Thrawn.
it seems like it.
Um,
Maybe he's
But-
that way writing other books too. I don't know.
could be.
I only know him in
just-
the Star Wars
it's-
context.
His writing is really good. He's
Yeah.
a fantastic author, and I love reading his writing.
Yeah.
It's a really good book. Just as much, like I said, Claudia Gray and Bloodline was
Mhm.
fantastic.
Yeah.
It was such a good book, fun book to read.
Right.
And this is right up there with them. So
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It's great.
of the new canon books, if you haven't read anything, I mean, there's no entry level to Thrawn or Bloodline. You don't have to know all that much, other than
I would say
in
you do-
Bloodline you have to know a little more.
Yeah. I think
Know that Darth Vader is Leia's father. Spoiler alert. That's, I mean,
I think it kind of helps to know some of the old EU.
with
Bloodline.
with the Senate or with
Yeah, with what's going on with the Senate, with what's going on.
it helps,
with,
but I don't think you have to know that because it explains enough of that
like
intrigue and sabotage and
Maybe.
all of that.
like
The Thrawn, there's really no entry level. Like, it just starts with this guy that you don't know anything about, and then
yes,
you grow
Yes,
up
that's
with him
right.
through his Imperial story.
yes,
There's no entry. You don't have to know anything before you start reading Thrawn.
exactly. Yeah, it's a good book.
Yeah.
from what I've read.
It gets better. I was about halfway through, and I was like, "Oh, this is fun. This is good Thrawn. This is good Thrawn stuff."
That's where I'm at
I
right
like
now,
Thrawn,
too,
and
yeah.
it's good Thrawn. And then I kept
Yeah.
reading. I was like, "Holy shit, this is Thrawn stuff."
Sweet.
Like
Okay,
Thrawn,
so it does
Thrawn,
get to that point.
Thrawn gets better, but it's like this dude is just the biggest badass ever, and like it's not about like in most badasses it's about them being a badass. Like, I'm a badass. Look at me do badass things.
It's
But Thrawn is never like that.
He
Thrawn
badass.
is a total badass, but it's not for Thrawn being a badass. It's for the good of everything else and for doing his mission.
Okay.
But then you have this whole other story of Arenda Price, who is like
On
trying
Coruscant, right?
trying to dig her way through the governmental side of things
Yeah.
and become like just rise in the ranks. And there's
Right.
all this political intrigue and stuff that was interesting in Bloodlines with
Yeah.
her story, and it gets really messy and dirty with the governmental side of things.
Is that tied to the Thrawn story at all?
It ties into it at the
It
very
does?
near the very end. Yeah, it does eventually tie into it.
Okay.
She has a purpose, and I couldn't see it for a long time, but
Yeah.
eventually they crossed
didn't seem
paths,
like
and
it.
it kind of went that direction. So
Okay.
I think Zahn very much set it up to have more Thrawn books by having their
Multiple
the
characters.
multiple characters and then meet closer to the end,
Yeah.
and then their story kind of wrap up near the end, but they're still both. You
Like,
can
they
see,
could
you
still
can see
go
more
places.
stories happening after that. Yes,
Yeah,
he
yeah,
very much set it up to allow himself more Thrawn.
Okay.
And
That's cool.
more Arenda Price. I could see there being more stories about her because her
Okay.
story was very interesting.
All right. Well, I'll finish it next by the time we record next, and we can talk about
Do it.
the details for a little while.
Everyone out there, do it too.
I wanted to talk real
Hold
quick.
on.
I watched The Phantom Menace over the weekend.
The worst Star Wars movie?
See, that's the thing. That's what I want to say. It's not the worst Star Wars
Alley-oop.
movie.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It's not the worst Star Wars movie.
No, I completely agree.
Attack of the Clones is the worst Star Wars movie, I
That's-
would say.
Yes.
Revenge of the Sith is, I would
it's
argue,
good.
might be better than Return of the Jedi. Gasp. But I want this to kind of set off. I want you to watch Phantom Menace again.
I did only a few months ago. It was very recent.
Okay, so
I
right,
started
so you're
watching. I started
enough-
with my 3-year-old watching the
the prequels. again,
prequels
okay?
and
All right.
taking him in through the whole story.
I want to go through over the next 10 episodes, maybe a little less. Go through the prequels again and
Yeah.
see what we think of them with all
I,
this.
yeah,
with all
the
this new
one I
crap.
most recently watched was Attack of the Clones, and I can confirm it's bad.
It's awful. It
It's-
is so bad.
it's not
That's
just
next
it's
for
not
me.
the worst Star Wars movie. It is possibly one of the worst movies.
It is just a bad movie.
Yeah,
in
like just
general.
obviously there's horrible bad movies that I haven't seen, but of the movies that I've watched because I wanted to watch them and then it ended up sucking, this is probably the top of the suck chart.
It's, and
Yeah.
you know those suck charts. They
Ooh,
could be pretty
it's-
tall.
It's
Could be a lot of things on those suck charts.
tough sucking.
This is the top of the suck chart.
Think
of all the other
it's a hard
suckins.
suck,
Think
if
of
you will.
all the other suckins that had to pass.
Well,
And some good suckins too.
there's some good suckins and some bad suckins, son. Anyways,
Dad, can we go back in the ice cream
can
store?
we keep watching Star Wars?
Son, you have to understand this. Here's my chart.
Here's my suck chart.
Sucking
Anyways,
number 1. Back of the restaurant.
Phantom Menace is
Anyway.
not the worst Star Wars movie, and I completely
No.
agree.
But
But
it is bad.
it is still bad.
Well, I'd
It's rough.
yeah, that's the thing. It's rough, but I think
It's rough but watchable.
there are enough. Yes, it's watchable. There are enough good moments in it that it makes it okay. Check mark. Stamp.
The assembly line guy going down the Star Wars films.
Okay.
Okay, good, great, okay. Or just the Clone
It
Wars gets
passes.
the NA not applicable. Just-
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the cartoons.
sure.
Everything. Well, okay. I started writing these notes, and at first I said everything, but then I went back and corrected it to big things that move the story.
Yeah.
So think about stuff that just advances the story.
Taxes, and
So you can
tariffs,
continue.
blockades.
Like, not that.
Okay, sorry.
Stuff that allows the story to keep happening.
Taxes and blockades and goods and services.
No.
No.
Bring out the sec chart again.
Okay.
Goods and services. Not that.
Okay.
These things that happen all happen by accident.
It's true.
For example, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan in the very beginning of the movie, when they're going underwater, trying to get to the capital.
They accidentally end up on Naboo. They accidentally run into Jar Jar. They accidentally end up in Gunga City.
See, that stuff you can trace back to something. Like, Jar Jar is a native creature and he's standing around.
Sure.
Whatever, I get that. They get sent there because of this whole taxes and whatever is going on deal that I still don't understand.
Yeah.
That you could trace that back. Stuff like they're traveling underwater to get to the capital and a fish attacks them.
A giant ass, huge.
And they get away.
Yeah, Opie, I think it was Opie, right?
It was an OPC killer, is the name of the beast.
And then another fish bites it, so
the
they get away.
Aqua, yeah, bites it and they get away. That stuff, that's just random stuff that happens. Like, they survive just because.
They got lucky that another fish was hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically an accident.
Yeah.
They got
totally.
away. I mean, the second time a fish almost attacks them, Obi-Wan, I mean, you can kind of see Obi-Wan, like, pilots. He's a good submarine pilot or something.
Sure,
I don't
yeah.
know. Somehow.
Yeah, he's a great.
But that you can sort
pilot
of
man.
attribute to, he's got some skill somehow. Somehow he's a good submarine pilot. I don't know if they cover that in basic Jedi training, but
yeah.
like you can trace that back. Them just accidentally getting away and surviving and letting the whole movie continue.
Yeah.
Whatever.
The Deus Ex Machina that is hungry fish.
Basically. And then Anakin, the only reason he wins that pod race is because Sebulba decides to bump him
Yeah.
at the very end, and they get attached and they break away and Sebulba crashes.
Yeah.
That's the only reason Anakin wins, was because of that.
Because of Sebulba's stupid idea. Yeah.
All his pod breaks a million times during the race.
Yeah.
I guess you have to have stakes to make it interesting, but he gets everything
Accidental-
fixed and figured out.
Yeah.
They're neck and neck to where I don't know what would have happened. Sebulba would have done something to him. And they get attached and Sebulba crashes. So he wins. They get the parts. He escapes to become Darth Vader only because of that.
Only because of
That's
the
the
hungry
only
fish
reason.
and the accidental crash. Yeah.
I mean, even when
And the whole Trade Federation thing.
even when the council, that too. I'm going to get to that. But even when the council, Yoda at the very end, because Qui-Gon dies, Yoda decides Anakin can be trained. Like that, I mean, Obi-Wan and Yoda kind of have a relationship.
The chosen one.
Yeah, Obi-Wan has an argument and Yoda's like, fine, whatever, just whatever.
Just shut up.
Make you stop whining. Basically, like that sort of has an explanation.
Sure.
The only reason, so basically you could say the only reason Darth Vader exists is because Sebulba got cocky and decided to bump Anakin in the pod race.
No,
You can all trace it back.
Even further back. The only reason Darth Vader exists is because a fish was hungry. They would never have found Anakin
Yeah,
if
that's
Obi-Wan
true.
and Qui-Gon had died in a violent fish accident.
That's true. They would have drowned right there, and that would have been the end of the movie.
Star Wars, the story of a hungry fish.
That's what it is.
It set the Chosen One storyline into motion. It created wars across galaxies.
That hungry fish.
Yeah.
If that fish just wasn't so damn hungry,
Just had a snack.
if he had just eaten earlier,
Yeah.
none of this would have happened. So, George.
We can blame all of Star Wars on a hungry fish.
Thanks, George, for writing in that hungry fish.
Yeah.
And the third thing I wanted to talk about was Anakin. He ends up, when he launches out of the hangar into the space battle at the end of the movie. Huh?
Accidentally hits the go into battle autopilot.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. I was trying to
hit
think
the
of
button that said fly into space and start fighting. Yeah,
exactly.
that button.
Good thing he hit those buttons accidentally in the right order too.
Yeah,
Because if he had hit the autopilot before he figured out the cockpit close button,
Oh yeah,
that would have been a
Ice Cube just
fast trip to Ice Town.
his eyes would have started bulging out of his head like is it Val Kilmer in
No, is it Val
Red
Kilmer?
Planet? No,
Red Planet.
What's the Mars movie?
It's
with the eyes start bulging out of the head.
oh shit.
Isn't it Val Kilmer?
Is it Val Kilmer though? I can't even remember the movie now. It's Total Recall. That's what it is.
It's Total Recall.
But
You're right.
it's not Val Kilmer. He wasn't in that movie, was he? No, it was
Maybe
Schwarzenegger.
He just looks like fat Val Kilmer.
It was
That's
Schwarzenegger
fine.
in that movie, wasn't it? That had his eyes bulging out of his head.
I think so. I think you are right.
Did you ever see the Total Recall reboot?
I did not.
Why they didn't call Total Reboot, I don't know why.
That
I mean, you have the
think it's-
perfect opportunity
Total
for,
reboot.
to say
Sure,
what
why
it
not?
really is in the title.
Sure.
Anyway,
Aren't they making another Total Recall 2049? I don't know, some numbers.
that's Blade Runner, you idiot.
3082. What's it's Blade Runner. You're right.
Blade Runner.
It is Blade Runner. I don't know. It's one of those.
Not the same
One of
thing.
those rebooted movie franchises that they just keep shoving in our faces.
Anyway.
So yes, all of the Phantom Menace and the rest of Star Wars is an
Happens because of
accident.
a bunch of accidents.
Yes.
It's just terrible. I mean, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's this
So-
whole conversation I wanted to get to.
So we're gonna have an ongoing prequel discussion, right? For the next,
that's what I want to
next
do.
handful of episodes. I think we'll keep talking about the Phantom Menace
That's what I want to
next
do.
time.
Yeah.
Just that our first thoughts are all of Star Wars is an accident because
then-
of a hungry fish.
And next episode we can get into this, but I wanted to talk about how. So, Palpatine.
Sorry, I'm just Newt Gunray lines are popping into my head, and they're just the most racist sounding, just worst writing ever. Sorry.
What
Anyways.
is going on down there?
But there are two of them.
That's not Newt Gunray, but
Is it? Oh, that's the
well, what I
that's
said
his
wasn't Newt
other
Gunray.
guy. Anyways,
There are two of them.
Yeah.
Was that Newt Gunray?
I think so.
I can't remember.
They
now.
all sound the same to me.
All those Nemodians.
Yeah.
I was gonna talk about. We can talk about it next episode, but the whole Trade Federation blockade of Naboo and trying to get this treaty to be signed.
Whatever that was about.
Seriously though,
Yeah.
why was the treaty? What was that gonna do? It was gonna legalize them being there, but what? Why would? Why does Palpatine need that?
I have tried to understand the whole blockade and Trade Federation thing so many times, and it's just not. It won't stick. I can't.
All right,
It just doesn't
I'm-
work.
I'm reading the opening crawl because I remember that talking about it.
Taxes and tariffs and blockades and goods and services.
Terminals and taxes and trade routes is in dispute. See, the taxation of trade routes is in dispute. Is that part of Palpatine's plan?
It's like a business term, like randomizer output business sentence
The taxation of trade routes
is in
is in
dispute.
dispute.
Synergize.
Synergize the outgoing conglomerate energies in
Goods and services.
business box.
Yeah.
Hoping to resolve the matter with the blocking of deadly battleships, the Green Trade Federation stopped all shipping to the small planet Naboo.
Naboo wasn't getting anything because there was a blockade. That's the whole point of a blockade.
Right, I understand that.
And there was a treaty.
Hoping to resolve the matter,
Yes.
stopped all shipping to the planet of Naboo. Why was that important? Well, and then like the Republic debates it because it's happening. blah blah blah. Was Naboo the reason this was happening in the beginning? What?
They weren't feeding the fish, and they were hungry all the time. Therefore, Star Wars.
The Supreme Chancellor. Okay, well, this answers one of my questions. Then the Supreme Chancellor has secretly dispatched 2 Jedi Knights to settle the conflict. One of my questions was first of all, I guess we can get into this later.
I guess Palpatine wasn't the Supreme Chancellor at that point, right?
No, it was Valorum, which is fine. My question was, why was Darth Sidious, aka Palpatine, surprised by Jedi Knights showing up? Why did he think that wouldn't happen, or why did he not foresee that? You know, if this whole
if they're the police of the galaxy and there's a blockade on a whole entire planet,
I guess this
by
is
some corrupt government aliens.
Was that part of his plan to begin with? His ultimate galaxy takeover plan? Because there's
a lot of stuff in question as to what was Palpatine's plan, because every time there comes a question as, was it part of Palpatine's plan? It's like, yeah, of course I planned it. I planned it all. It was all part of my plan. But in half the time it's right. Like he was really scheming Thrawn-esque, like this whole long con.
Was he?
But was that part
Was
of it?
he? That's a question.
From what he tells us.
Was he?
From what he's told us, yes. How much of that is not just pomp and assholery? Who knows?
I can't figure it out. Was this stupid taxation thing, because his end game was to become,
all right, let's tax this planet so we can send some Jedi so the hungry fish will let them go. Yes,
the hungry fish. The hungry
Where's my lunch?
Fish. Yeah. I'm hungry. For fish.
Gaston! Fish!
Gaston?
Bring me fish. No. The French term for
Garçon.
Waiter or whatever.
I think you have Garçon. What's
anyways,
his name? Garçon.
So we will continue talking about the Phantom Menace next episode.
Garçon! Right?
Sure.
Garçon.
Neither of us can probably pronounce it
Hold
correctly.
on.
What else are you looking up? Because
Flapper.
we need to close this episode because everyone wants
Looking
to
up
leave.
Flapper on Wikipedia.
Flapper?
Flappers. Flappers were a generation of young Western women in the 1920s.
The dancers.
Who wore short skirts,
the 20s, right?
bobbed their hair, listened to jazz,
Yeah.
and flaunted their disdain for what was then considered acceptable behavior.
Yeah, they were the hipsters of the 20s.
Mm.
Why are you looking up flappers?
Treating sex in a casual manner.
Why are we looking up flappers? How did I missed all of that road?
Oh, you know.
The road to flappers.
I looked up Garçon on Google and flappers came up.
Sure. Why not?
Let's read about flappers.
I'm good.
The U.S. banks and flapper employees. Yes, sounds good. Good podcast.
This has been episode 46 of Hokey Religion. You can follow us on Twitter at Hokey_religion. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, anywhere that makes noise. I've made sure we're there. Or tried to.
Banks across the United States started to regulate the dress and deportment of young female employees who were considered to be flappers.
You can email us at contact@hokeyreligion.com. So please send us questions, comments, anything that you want to send us, and we can discuss it on the episode.
Female employees were firmly told that there was no time for them to beautify themselves during office hours. What?
And I think that's all I have. You can support us on patreon.com/hokeyreligion if you enjoy the show, want to help make it better,
And want to hear more about flappers?
and you need more flapper advice, knowledge. I don't know.
I'm just here giving knowledge, not advice. If you want advice, you can see
I'll teach you about flappers, but you do it with it what you want.
You can go to my other podcast if you want flapper advice. How to be flapper.
Flapper Talks.
Flapper Nation.
Just TED Talks about flappers.
Mm-hmm.
Just every episode.
It's all me
All flappers all the time.
in flapper outfits.
Oh, jeez.
That's been Hokey Religion for today.
This is Tyler.
This is Michael.
Goodbye.
Hokey religion is an ancient weapon. Hokey religion is an ancient weapon for no match for a good blaster at your side.